Once upon a time there was a beautiful and rich kingdom that believed in tradition more than anything else. It was said your soul was reflected in a color of your eyes. Green was dedicated to people who were farmers and worked with nature. Brown eyes were for people who were deep thinkers and educated. Blue eyes were very clear and dedicated to the nobles and the rich. But the eyes that was above them all was the golden, the eyes that belonged to the future ruler of the kingdom. Eyes that were said to be born together with courage and leadership. Usually you were born with the same eyes as your parents had, but sometimes, very rarely, a child was born outside of its class. When a king is born outside, he would be named Philip, but if it was a queen, she would be named Ophilia. The very first royal child that was born outside was Ophilia the First. She was a bloodthirsty, wicked queen. So ever since she reigned 600 years ago, people feared that both Philip and Ophilia children were born with a curse of insanity. This is the story of Ophilia the Third. Ophilia the Third was born into a loving farmer's home. Her mom loved her so much and didn't want to give her away. She was afraid that people would treat her differently just because she was born Ophilia. So the family hid Ophilia's existence until she was 3 years old. The rumor about a girl with golden eyes living at the farm started to spread. Ophilia was then adopted by the king and queen of the kingdom. The queen had ice blue eyes, just like her son Valentino. The king had the same eyes as Ophilia. Ophilia didn't remember her birth parents and saw the royals as her new family. She loved them very much. At the castle and the court, she was very soon known to be the royal child that drank a lot of tea. When Ophilia got older and learned how to read, the king showed her the royal library. He told her that the past royalties never actually read the books or liked them, so they'd been sitting in the library collecting dust for a very long time. He asked if maybe Ophilia could look after the library and the books. This was his very first test to see how responsible she was. Ophilia took this mission very seriously, not only because she loved books, but also because she wanted to make the king proud. She never got to prove herself to the king. He died soon after, together with the queen. It was said to have been a horrible accident. Ophilia was only 8 years old when the king and queen died. Their son Valentino was at boarding school at that point, and Ophilia felt very alone. The king's advisor Adam told Ophilia that he could keep the kingdom floating and working while she continued her studies, and that when she was of age and ready to take the throne, she would be given it. Ophilia agreed to this idea. Adam fired a lot of people in the castle to keep the secret from the public eye. This made the castle even more lonely. Ophilia spent most of her days in the library reading all the books she could get her hands on. She was hoping that all the information that was in this book could help her with how she should be as a queen. With the king gone, she couldn't ask him for help on how to behave and how to be. Sometimes she questioned why she was born with golden eyes. Did she really have the leadership to handle this kingdom? Or was she born with a curse of being insane, like many believed she did? The only joy Ophilia really had was the occasional letters she was giving by Valentino. In one of his letters, he suggested that she was maybe needed to know her kingdom to know how to rule it. so he told her to maybe go up to the street and meet the people herself. She followed his suggestion, and one day she put on a scarf to hide her face and went out on the street. She was baffled by what she was met with: poverty, thievery, dirty streets, and people who hated the queen, who just sat in her castle drinking tea and having cake, while the kingdom was starving. This was of course not true, so Ophelia ran back to the castle and questioned the advisor what had happened. What happened to the beautiful kingdom she once knew, the thriving and beautiful, glorious kingdom. He told her in a calm voice that he made the taxes higher and that he was taking the money for himself. She questioned why he had done this, and he said that he was not alone, because she was the one who wrote the documents. It was her signature and her doing. She had made the taxes higher. She obviously had nothing to do with this and realized that she had given the country to a wolf. She threatened that she would expose him and that she had nothing to do with this. He looked at her in a very musing way and said, "Do you really think the people would believe you? And Ophelia, a girl we all know will bring horror and pain to the world. We all know you were born with a curse the same way as Ophelia the First. You two will kill and murder to get what you want. We're almost the same, you and I. You should join me, marry me." Enraged, Ophelia stabbed Adam in his hand. Adam screamed, and his studies was soon flooded with guards. "Take him to the dungeon and let him rot there," she ordered. Ophelia took her rightful place to the throne and tried her hardest to make the kingdom glorious as it once was. She sold all her belongings, jewelry, dresses, fancy tea sets, just to give back to the people what they have lost. She was desperate to gain the approval and love from her kingdom. She didn't want to be compared with the horrific actions that Ophelia the First had done, and maybe one day she will get the love that she deserves from her people.